Hey, what is up everybody? Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Today's video, guys, we're going to be doing our first impression over the girl Riko here, at least checking out Wind Vast and seeing exactly what she can do with at least a mediocre build that I kind of just scrounged up and put together. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a lot, helps out the channel. And if you really just want to be involved in at least my community, be sure to check down below inside the description and join GachaMetaverse here, which is my Discord channel as well. And I'm going to keep you guys updated as much as possible when it comes down to P5X, whether it's TW, CN, KR, and global. But with that out the way, let's go ahead and talk about it. So we're going to be going over at least Wind Vast today, and this is going to be actually my first impression of this character. Now, they briefly let us use her in the story, but I didn't really get to see exactly what she did, nor did I get to really use her the proper way. So of course I wanted to do this on camera with you all. So I ended up tossing on some decent cards, or at least some okay-ish cards really on her. They're all kind of bad, to be honest, but we do have a few decent ones. One of the ones that I am actually going to be using is this Revelation card, and the only reason why I'm utilizing it the most because of the amount of SP we do have, which is nearly a ton more than we need. Then of course we have this one that has a little bit of SP, a little bit of HP for survival, and some attack. Pretty decent card. This one's actually a good keeper, to be honest. And then we have the mediocre cards coming in. First one's going to be an HP card for the Moon, in which I technically could use an attack card, but I do believe that she's going to need a little bit more sustainability. So I decided to use, of course, the Moon one. This one I want to re-roll, honestly, mainly just because I don't like that any of the upgrades went into defense and defense ignore. I want to kind of get these only into attacking for damage, so we're gonna have to work on that. But then we have this one, kind of mediocre, kind of mad that it has speed on it because it's really making her way too fast. And then we have our SP recovery one, which has more speed on it, making it way too fast. So we're going to be trying to tune this character later on, but for this video, seeing it is a first impression, we're going to of course go with that and see how it does. Now for the video, I did end up getting her 5-star weapon off camera, so we're going to be utilizing that today, but I will be having a video comparing both the 4-star and the 5-star, 4-star being at max and the 5-star being at a 0. So all right, let's get straight into it. So where I want to actually try this out here is going to be mainly, I guess we can just do it anywhere really. I think the best place to try is maybe in her little trials here. I have not even done these guys, which I'm gonna clear them really quick. I'm being dead honest with myself, but I want to give it a shot here. Now for her team here, there's a couple things that she very well can run, but one of them that I'm personally going to be trying to run here is the one with Wind, because we have A0, and if you do have A0, much like how I have A0, she's not going to be as useful with most other teams. She's going to have to require a couple other things in her teams here, and that's going to make things a little bit more interesting. While if she did, of course, have a 1 or something like that, you can go ahead and use her with multiple other teams. But going ahead and taking a look at what we want to go ahead and use, I'm going to use Wind, Howler, and of course Riko, while having our Futaba in the back line. And then we're going to set up at least Wonder being a little different here. We want to have the Ancient Force Focus field, or Ancient Force field here. And then you want to make sure you're using Vishnu in the front, of course, to get that nice old winded buff. Sick as a debuffer, and then I guess we can have, for survivability wise, if we do need it, Norn, but I think really Narcissus might be a better pick instead of Norn, because if I'm being honest, we shouldn't have any problem getting winded stacks, and normally we don't really put on a defense shield either. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Narcissus instead of using the Norn one here. So how this character does work is, seeing that we're A0 and we have no actual buff type deals with this, what the heck, wait a minute, just put cord in. Why'd you put cord in here? That's weird. Buggy? Question mark? That was kind of weird there. If that is gonna happen, then we're gonna have to, of course, change this up a little bit. But I know for a fact I put freaking Howler in here, which is kind of weird. I think this is probably what my friend was talking about, that he kept swapping everything around, which yeah, that's not good. Let's see if it does that again. Okay, no, it didn't do it this time. That was kind of weird. I don't know why I did that, but seeing we are doing this here, and of course we have A0, the main thing that we're going to focus on for her rotation is going to be the skill 3 to skill 2. from at least what I know with how she ends up going on here, skill 3 is really going to help us out with giving everybody that big old crit rate bonus, which is why it costs so much. You want to get that crit rate, making sure that you're at least consuming all your SP, and for the amount of SP that you do have, it does contribute into at least crit damage and or more crit damage for the entire party, depending on how you're doing this. Now, with this being stated here, of course, we're going to be using this skill 3 first. So we have to use it on our DPS here. So first things first, use it on Mont. And since we're using this on Mont, you see at least everything that we do have here. Now, one of the main things that we want to go ahead and check is how our Mont is looking. Now, Mont's got a huge buff here. You got a gigantic, at least buff here. You can actually kind of see how much of a buff this actually gives her. She's at 92% crit rate and 269% crit damage, which is actually really, really nice. Now, this is all going to be contributed either during to the amount of SP consumed, helping out crit damage, helping out all those type of additional effects. But you do want to make sure you're having a certain overabundant amount of things. As you guys can see, our crit rate's already going up a decent bit here. Our crit damage is up by 31.5%, and a lot more of this stuff is actually being elevated, thankfully, to our Riko. Now, I'm going to go ahead and continue utilizing this and using Riko how she should be used here, which is mainly our buffing. So anything else is just going to be kind of, I guess, eye candy. We can kind of see what's going to end up happening. That thing died in one shot, of course. I don't want to kill everything just yet because our main deal is to check out how this character does work. How is it looking? And you know what? I can't help myself. Hold on, wait a minute. Before we actually continue, I want to get the AOA. If I can get the AOA, that'd be great. So boom. It's only 6k. They might not die to this. Let's see what happens. Let's go. We get the AOA for the video. Gotta love it. But with this character, her whole deal is just going to be those buffing status effects, right? It's only going to really be helping out your DPS. Though, of course, if you did decide to go a little bit further in her banner, that very well can change, but it's going to cause a lot more messing around and hoping you can get it. Now, the other good thing about this character is with her at least skill 3, you didn't end up doing for her rotation her skill 2, if I'm correct about this one here. Her skill 2 is really going to help you out a decent bit as well, because that one is morely going to be focusing on all allies instead of just that one person. It's going to be morely focusing on everyone at a time. Being able to do this there, of course, you're boosting everybody's crit damage, which is absolutely amazing. Or at least, well, everyone's attack based on her amount of crit damage. So that's always going to be something that you kind of want to pay attention to, seeing it can really help out your character in the long run. Not to mention with her actual skill 2, she does help out your SP recovery. So that's always going to be a good thing, especially for Mont, where she started lacking, especially in the longer SOSs. She was mainly lacking a lot more of that SP recovery. It was kind of a little bit of a harder thing to actually keep your SP recovery, and you had to do certain things to keep that. So for example, I had to get a card set that kind of had a little bit of SP recovery on it, not much, but I had to make sure I had a little bit of some substats that could contribute into that SP recovery type management. That is something that's kind of annoying to do, especially when it does come down to at least these DPS characters. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really like doing that too much, but thankfully to Riko being here, we don't really have to worry about that much at all. Another thing that Riko does have is every time, of course, she has an ally on her field, which is always going to happen no matter how you dice it, how you slice it. No matter what happens here, you're always going to be increasing that ally's attack percentage due to at least them being on that field. Based on every amount of at least attack percentage here, it does go over a certain amount of crit damage over at least 100%. Once that does go over here, it kind of overflows and gives you even more to work with here. It actually increases your crit damage by an extra 24%, which is actually really, really good, especially for 2 whole turns as well. So this is just something that's with her highlight. That's with her highlight just in general. That's pretty darn decent. So if you guys will see this right here, this is just something that she's just able to do. We can actually show it right now. So utilizing this, we're going to pop this, and it's going to increase no matter what the allies attack 2.5% here. So if we go ahead and check out what we're getting from this here, and we check our character, boom, we actually can see the amount of things that we're getting buffed here. We have, of course, the extra little 8.1%, and this is mainly just because of the amount of stuff that we're going over the crit damage marker. We're actually getting the extra bit of attack, right? We're getting a couple more little fields. That's always nice to keep, but it does require you to use that highlight, which is kind of a little bit of annoying, but it's still highly, highly lovely. Now, these are all kind of easy to knock out. They're not going to be too much of a problem. They're going to be fairly easy to get rid of here. And yeah, I guess this is probably the best place to kind of show her off right now, because I'm not too, I don't know if she can live in other content just yet, but I'm kind of scared to do so. But look at even her moves, they look so freaking beautiful, not gonna lie. And she recovers SP with that, so that's actually pretty darn good. Now to my knowledge, at least with A1, you don't want to be using the majority of her attacking, or at least you don't want to use her skill 1 too much. Kind of want to just wait on it, which I guess it could make sense, because I think her other skills don't really proc too well with that, but we're gonna have to figure that out in the long run. Now, some things at least to go about passive wise here is, at least in battle, for herself, she's not only just helping out herself here, but she does increase the amount of crit damage based on the amount of SP recovery you have on her. So as long as you overfill a lot of your SP, and oh, I just totally yanked myself just then, but as long as you're actually getting up your SP a lot and stuff like that, you usually will have a lot more crit damage based on this. I think it does cap out at like 450, so it is kind of a thing that's hard to reach, but depending if you can get your stats in order, it definitely will be pretty easy for many folks here. But anyways, that's just the first one. The second one here goes on one of her little kit type fragments, or her kit things here, called Fragrance of Time, in which, due to the at least main target, you'll be able to gain 2 turns of actual budding. What this ends up doing is you get a stack of blossom, apparently what it is, or something like that. And this itself not only will help you out by increasing your attack percentage, and based on your, at least your crit damage, that is, keep that in mind, based on your crit damage, it does increase your attack percentage. Though it also does increase one more other thing too, if I remember reading this correctly as well, is it will increase her attack by 30 for 3 whole turns, up to 10 stacks. So this can actually be a lot more attack than you very well do think. It gives her a little bit of an extra edge, but luckily with this character, it doesn't seem like attack is too harped on. It's more or less just going to be SP recovery and crit damage. So I mean, like, why is everything actually negating fire? That is so mean to my poor Howler. She doesn't get the chance to have fun. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff regarding it. Secondly, I just noticed my stinking rotation is terribly out of whack here. I didn't notice it at first, but I noticed it now. But anyways, yeah, a lot of this character seems really nice. I like having the character here. The only downside, of course, is if you're a person who doesn't have like a couple other characters and Riko has been your navigator, it's kind of gonna suck, at least in that aspect. Secondly, another thing is, as long as you're using Riko, if you don't have Wind Mod, I feel like she doesn't feel too worth it. There's only certain characters I feel like that are not worth it with specific characters. Wind Mod is one of the few that, after of course just playing with her now, and I may be using her wrong, I may be using her right, I don't know, but I think I'm using her right. With everything that she has here, using certain characters with her just does not seem like it's going to be plausible, at least not unless you have what's it called, dupes. If you have dupes and stuff like that, maybe it could be usable. But going off the aspect of, I think this character, if it's A0 R0, can only be working with like wind, it's highly plausible that you can't use this character unless you have dupes on her. So kind of a bummer to hear right there. It's kind of a bummer to see, because not everyone's gonna have that character, and this is definitely, it feels like this character is definitely a really good character. But I don't know, I like her right now. She's pretty decent. We're gonna try her out in more hard content, at least in future videos when I get her kind of situated. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button, which for hey, consider subscribing if you are new. I do daily videos of P5X, and we're only gonna keep on doing more. Thank y'all for all the support. Peace out.